All right, is humane slaughter possible? So before we get into the depth of his answer, first we need to understand what exactly is humane slaughter. So what is humane slaughter, and where does this term come from?
Right, so humane slaughter comes from the Humane Slaughter Act, which is a United States federal law designed to decrease animal suffering during slaughter. Humane slaughter essentially means that these animals are stunned or rendered unconscious before their throats are slit.
And why stunning?
Well, slaughterhouse method seeks to maximize speed, and it's often believed that the fastest way to drain an animal of all of its blood is to slit its throat while its heart is still pumping. Now, given the time that it takes for an animal to be completely bled out, and the amount of substantial suffering that the animal is encountering during slaughter, the U.S. and other countries have created these humane slaughter laws stipulating that these animals should be stunned before being bled out.
All right, so it seems like you mentioned two things: that the industry deems stunning as a way to maximize speed and to minimize suffering.
Right.
But let's be honest, the end result is death, right? And these animals are going to die. Right, so anything that happens before or prior to death is irrelevant.
Doesn't matter.
Right, so it seems to me that we're actually stunning not to minimize suffering, but to maximize speed. And the reason why I say that is because let's just say you don't stun an animal. That animal's going to do everything it possibly can to escape. It's going to fight you. It's going to bite you. It's going to kick you. It's going to do everything it possibly can to stay alive. Right, and that means it's going to take longer for you to kill the animal. Right, but at least if you stun the animal and temporarily paralyze the animal, right, you can slit the animal's throat really fast and have the animal bleed out faster. So we're talking about the meat industry here, so it's a numbers game. The more animals you kill, the more money you make.
Right,
so stunning is effectively not to minimize suffering, but to maximize speed and therefore maximize profits. So how are these animals stunned, and does stunning actually minimize suffering?
Right, so the most common way of stunning these animals is using a captive bolt pistol and shooting the animal in its forehead, or sometimes electrocuting. Now, increasingly though, many consumers are becoming more aware that these practices are frequently ineffective at inducing unconsciousness, therefore resulting in a lot of, tremendous amount of pain and suffering. So as a result, most of these animals are stunned multiple times, have their throats slit, and are all fully conscious during the entire process.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Even if stunning does minimize suffering, humane laws are largely unenforced. Federal inspectors have actually gone on record stating that, due to inspection loopholes developed in collusion with the meat industry, they're virtually powerless, if we're forcing humane slaughter laws.
Right. I mean, even enforcing stricter regulations, as in the case of humane certification labels, where they require third-party auditors coming into having these animals go into smaller slaughterhouses as opposed to being in these larger slaughterhouses. Yep. Most of these animals are still exhibiting these pain.
It's the same thing.
Pain and similar type of terror and exhibiting these same type of behaviors that are similar to that of the larger slaughterhouses. Yeah. And even some of them are even fully aware and conscious throughout the entire process of having their throats slit and stunned previously 4 to 5 times.
And that's just for cows, pigs, goats, right? But not for birds, because there's absolutely no humane slaughter laws at all for chickens, turkeys, ducks, and geese, which means that these animals can be killed by whatever method the producer prefers, including having the throat slits while they're fully conscious.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, even like you mentioned that, but like even so, in the Islamic tradition, in Islamic slaughterhouses, they don't even use any type of sedation.
It's crazy.
They actually just slit the carotid artery. Their animals are being bled out in a tremendous amount of pain, right? And even so, I mean, people think that using sedation is some sort of less cruel way of killing an animal. Well, that's not true. A lot of these animals are still in a tremendous amount of pain, even if sedation is used.
Yeah, I think it's amusing, right? That some people think that just because you kill the animal humanely, that it's okay, right? Because you try getting stunned and getting a steel bolt go straight to your brain and tell me that doesn't hurt, right? Or much less getting your throat slit while you're fully conscious, practically being beheaded, right? People bitch about getting paper cuts.
I mean, it's not humane. The intention itself is not humane.
Yeah, and there's nothing humane about artificially breeding billions of animals into existence with the sole purpose of selling them at market weight, right? And then slaughtering them in their infancy or adolescence years, right? Profiting from products procured from their flesh and bodily secretions. That in no way constitutes a humane intention, let alone a humane act.
And also, it could be argued that humane slaughter and its advocates, suffer even a greater betrayal than that of the large animal agriculture industry. I mean, these animals are treated with kindness and respect. I mean, some of these animals they even address them by a name, as if they have this individual identity. And these animals in turn, I mean, show us a great amount of affection. To subject animals to death is the ultimate betrayal, not just to the animals, but in principle for fairness in how we treat others.
Yeah, I think the problem here is that people don't think that animals, are conscious or intelligent enough to understand the value of their own lives. But, it's clear as day that the opposite is true. Animals will fight for their lives. They will fight for the lives of their offspring, and they will fight for the lives of members of their extended social groups, just, as vociferously as we would.
Absolutely, and while they may think and behave differently than us, the only relevant consideration in terms of humane slaughter is that we suffer as equals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, many people ingest animal products by means of habit, pleasure, and tradition. And invoking things like tradition is problematic, as all forms of exploitation have historical precedents, such as slavery, cannibalism and torture.
Yeah. And here's an interesting fact, right? The American Meat Institute guidelines actually consider an acceptable stunning effectiveness rating of 99% for pigs, 95% for cattle and sheep, and 98% for chickens. So even if all slaughter plants were to meet those industry goals, it would still be 185 million chickens, 1 million pigs, and 1.8 million cattle and sheep that will still be getting slaughtered inhumanely each and every year just in the United States alone, right? And let's be honest, there's billions of animals that are being killed and slaughtered every single year, right? And there's only a relatively small amount of slaughter workers who are actually killing those animals. So mistakes will happen, errors will happen, and you're talking about people who have become desensitized into killing, and quite frankly give zero fucks whether an animal is in pain or not.